done podcast
Oh yeah?
about Warsaw, Mira Shapiro.
Right.
So he mentioned Em HaBanim. He's kind of comparing, he's sort of contrasting Em HaBanim
To Rabbi Shapiro. Okay. I think.
Yeah.
Right. So, just two things before we go ahead in the book. First thing is, last week we talked about Morashah, and one of the last things we said was Morashah. It refers to weakness, and some people ask me, where does Morashah come from? Weakness? Did you ask me that? Someone did. You did. And so actually, as Rabbi Turchiner told me that the word Morashah comes from the word Rosh in homilies and these drashot. Rosh means poor, aniva Rosh. So the word, as opposed to nachala, is like an inheritance. I don't remember how it came up, but that's where the root why Yerusha and Morashah is many times seen as a sense of weakness. It may not be the strongest thing.
Yeah. No, I keep asking
because you're receiving it.
Yeah, because we call
maybe you asked me it.
We call it nachala.
Right.
The year
right.
of the deceased.
Right. Correct.
And Morashah, I don't know. It's sort of interchanged here. Once in a while they use one word and then the other.
Okay. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I told you I was going to share with you something about Rav Teichel before the war. Rav Teichel
this is
his anti-rant, his anti-Zionist rant. Just say this might tie into this Rabbi Shapiro thing. Okay. I'm not sure. Make sure there's only one, maybe one or two. No, maybe there are two. Okay. So there's a sefer that was printed in Tafshin Tzadi Vav, which is 1936. Okay, so it's not that far away from the time when Rav Teichel actually wrote his work, which begins about 1942. Okay, so this is before the war. The book is called Tikkun Olam. Tikkun Olam sounds like a really positive kind of thing, right? But it's really it's a polemic work that was written. All kinds of rabbis, Hungarian rabbis, that they got together, or maybe Hungarian and other parts of Europe, to write against Zionism. If you look right here, this is the cover page of what it is. So it has all kinds of things from Rabbanan and so forth. Neged Shitas HaMetchadshim, the new approaches, which are Tzionim, Mizrachim, Agudim, this is from Aguda, Yeshuvistim, and anyone who joins together with them. So this is like Mischadshim, it probably means reform, but it's including all kinds of things, and specifically those people who are developing the land. And it's a book of different like it's not a periodical, but they're different pieces, letters and pieces that are written. Rav Teichel has got a piece in there as well, so he didn't let this go unmentioned. So it's printed in one cut. Yes, it's printed in one. This next one. So it's printed in one cut. It's printed in Hungary, and I just kind of. So I'm not going to really run through this. Just to give you some highlights. They're all pretty much separate standing things. There's all the Hungarian Rabbanim who were against. We pointed out that Hungarian Rabbanim especially were even against the Aguda. They thought the Aguda was a radical kind of organization. Because what the Aguda was doing was making party definitions. They were defining themselves based upon working for the party. And if you didn't work for the Aguda, you were also out. So they politicized their Torah to some extent. So
Aguda wasn't Zionist, right?
It was Zionist to an extent. They have a Poli Aguda branch, which was very much Zionist. What has happened is they've become more insular. But Poli Aguda, Kibbutz Chafetz Chaim is a Poli Aguda kibbutz. Okay, kibbutzim in general have become less in Israel. But the idea to settle a land was an Aguda value, but within a certain construct. You have to remember that to the right of the Aguda, there's a whole group of people. You've got Satmar, you've got beyond Satmar, and at that point, the Orthodox world is reeling from the reform movements and inroads. Modernity is coming into their little communities, which are still backwards to some extent, especially towns and hamlets. People are leaving Judaism. They're starting to see Chilul Shabbos and people eating treif, and it's no longer the way it was. So it's this backdrop that there's this reaction that anything that's going to be new, anything that's going to be changed, has got to be bad. As Chassam Sofer says, Chadash Asam Torah. There's not just Chassam Sofer. There's a whole bunch of people who say the same things. So you have this whole, and it really seems to be more it's surely more in Hungary than it is in Germany, but it's even more than Poland. So they kind of feel, and as I think I mentioned, they kind of felt because of their insular nature of keeping the true Torah and not accepting any of these new movements, that's why they were spared in the early days of the World War II. That Hitler didn't get into Hungary yet. It hadn't really started persecutions and deportations. Of course, it happens much later, and at that point it's too late. But so Rav Teichel is part of this whole group. Rav Teichel lives in Munkachi at one point, or he's allied, I should say, with the Munkachi. He's not a Munkachi himself. He's a much more complex individual. But he probably, if you had to kind of put him into an initial box, you'd say he was really along the lines of the Munkachi Rav, the Munchas Elazar, Rav Chaim Elazar Shapiro, Chaim Elazar Shapiro. So just look on the page. I'm just going to bits and pieces of this. It's just a rambling kind of work. So right on the page, Ole Palestina, Metamim Eretz Yisrael Kedushasa. This is the title. The people who are making Aliyah to Palestine, remember this is 36, it's still called Palestine, they're destroying, they're making the world the place Tameh. Shum Pula Enoshid Umifleget or Miflaga Lo Toel Gulata. No human action or a miflaga as a group, like a party, is not going to bring the Gula. It comes out even against Daf Yomi. Daf Domi Lo L'Shem Shemai Mitaro is against Daf Yomi. Daf Yomi was a movement that's like, but when Daf Yomi came out, this was a very radical concept. Right? It's probably only in the last 2 cycles of Daf Yomi that it's become mainstream. What made Daf Yomi mainstream, by the way, was probably Art Scroll. And Art Scroll translated into Hebrew. And all kinds of other books have now come out which are really, supporting that. The internet made it available. So what was a closed book before Art Scroll came along, and you only had the Sansino translation, and you had Steinsaltz later on, and the Sansino translation was very literal, archaic, British English translation, and didn't take into consideration what the Rashi and the Rishonim said. So it's only Art Scroll that kind of makes this work. So before that, you went to the 30s when this took off. This was brand new, and it keeps going. Tzionim v'agudim, the Zionists and the Agud, the people from Agud, Ozvima Torah v'munatah, are leaving the Torah. Megdolim she'agudodim odim v'tonim b'vafsida. The Gedolim of the Agudas Yisrael admit, and they're crying about the loss that's going on. Because the truth is, people were bailing out not just of Mizrahi groups, they're bailing out of the Aguda. There was this loss. People who didn't know how to reconcile modernity. There were so many complexities and so much that was new that was going on. So he writes this whole thing. If you turn the page over, his basically approaches that those people who are gone. I'm just to a couple of places. That the land itself, by going into the land and leaving the Torah, you're ruining the land. So here, if you pick up. It's actually the last line. If they go in and you're not religious, you're not just making the land holy, you are desanctifying the growth of the land. The tumah goes into the growth. If you come in as a secular Zionist and you bailed out of religiosity and you develop the land, you're ruining the land. And we're not going to make this is not the only way we can make the land holy. Just skip down to the 4th line. The fruit is holy, fruit has kedusha, but if you don't do things properly and recognize what holiness means, you're nothing. The ein only yichol mezakot le'eretz Yisrael is the 4th line. Im lo basarat ha'arla shua klipa. You can only make the land of Israel holy by taking off the outside, the externalities of sin. Im chas v'chalila lo azai hi avrat ha'aretz ki noda ki eretz Yisrael shalamala sotzium v'yishleim ha'klipot sovavot. There's all these klipot that surround the Yerushalayim above. And when they go in, they're doing the same thing. So in other words, he writes it again and again. And now you have, I'm going to skip to the next paragraph, and the 5 lines from the end. First one line is L'Israel. Okay. So they're doing Masi Amalek to come into the land of Israel and to make their payrotel, to make coats v'dardar Yisrael. V'chadashim ikarov ba'u v'korim in Yisrael b'shem Palestinia. They come and they even change the name. It's no longer Israel, no longer Israel. It's called. They're using the name that everybody used. V'lo kasher karu me'alo avasenu Rabotenu gam kein moreh b'avonotein rabim she'enu mitzad kedusha. And he's writing to someone here on this part, and that you admit that it's not kedusha and so forth. And he's got this whole long discussion he has with Rav Nachum Zemba in the next paragraph, in which he says, who is part of the Aguda, who says in the fourth line, "V'so chasichim ba'asicha gam et noetan Aguda, Amar Hagon Hanal, gam Poland lo hela Aguda klum, et chila tov v'savush yaleh davar." Nothing has come out of the Agudas Yisrael. This Rav Nachum Zemba is well respected, and he keeps going up and he says. Top of the next page. Ube'emet kol ma'aseh pula enoshit. Any physical work. Lo yo'il malum muma laharamat keren Sion Yerushalayim. Nothing's going to raise the horn of Israel and Jerusalem. Ad sheyashkif Hashem min hashamayim. Until God comes down from heavens. V'yareh yaleinu b'chlal ruach tar min hashamayim. Until we see that God will show us and show to us and bring to us the ruach of tahara, of holiness or purity from the shamayim. Lahayir lanu or chadash to show us the new light from the 6 days of creation. They will show us the new light, the hidden light from the Shesh Mebreshis. Will bring it to us that way, and not through people are going to come up to develop and go to Palestine themselves and develop things on their own. We have nothing to do. Skip down 2, 4, 6, 7th line. And open your eyes, or make your face bright. We should be worthy of to get the light from Hashem. Until that time, until God reveals for us the hidden light in the 6 days of creation, that He's going to show us how to bring Mashiach back to Israel. Something acheret. Ein lo yischadut acheret. Rak lasok b'Torah b'kibbutz ributz b'talmidim. And we should only learn Torah with a lot of talmidim coming together. B'chadarim, in the chadarim, b'yeshivot. Al haderach hamakubal b'yotenu mi'avotenu. We should do it the way we've always been doing it. B'derech stam, the way we always did things, the normal way. V'lo b'derech politica, not with political. No, v'lo b'party, not political parties. But they're good. There was also political party. So the same thing is that nothing has really come out of this, that we have to kind of just do all what's going on. And he goes after the Aguda again and again in this piece. And one more piece, just maybe 6 lines from the bottom here. That everything is right above that. All these different groups. For Kol Dor Hanoar Nosei Bam Tachto Harbe Itonim Miminim Shonim. All the people, the young people. There's a whole piece of Yiddish in the middle. I skipped over. But 2, 4, 6, 8 lines in the bottom. Kol Dor Hanoar. All the young generation. Nosei Bam Tachto is carrying in their packets, in their backpacks. Harbe Itonim. A lot of newspapers. Miminim Shonim, from different types. I'm not sure if he means heretics or types. Uma'abdim hazman hayakar kehevel. They're wasting all the time for nothing. Hevel varik and nothing. Klalo shodavar. The bottom line. Hakol holech ala kavana achat laviat levon to the party. The whole intention is to build the party. In this case, it's talking about the Aguda or the Mizrahi party. Al tila on its pedestal. V'lo l'hadamet larim neis v'degel Torah. Not to raise the flag of the Torah. B'stam. U'v'zeh paskal lagamri b'atzleinu midat yisod. I'm not sure what that word is. So we've lost the basic basic foundations here. And if you say to them, Vim omrim lahem ma el adar tzoyer, hey mesachikim b'fanenu zot pulot totzot ha'agudah b'mniyot. You say, what's going to be with the future? They laugh and they say, this is the future when we come out from belonging to the Agudah. This is all he believes. He's quoting some parts of his discussion with Rabbi Nachum Zemba. So the whole tenor of this piece, which once again in this book is only one of many. This is page Kuf Yudbeis, Kuf Zion. And there's still plenty more after this. This book is a whole slew of these different kind of things, of which he doesn't get into page 100. Okay, of which Rav Teichtel is one of them. So the whole feeling of the book and his whole article is really what is against supporting what's going on in Israel. This is 36. And what happens?
He has his own Or HaGanuz.
He has his or it opens up to him, and he suddenly realizes that things are different.
What year? 42?
What year? He starts writing it in 42. So it's writing in 42, and he finishes it in 43. Okay?
I mean, you can feel in what he's writing the tremendous love for Israel.
Yeah.
Like there's,
Yes.
like, it's not like being in the land is wrong.
Right.
It's being in the land without Torah is wrong.
He's an individual who loves Jews. Okay? The first chapter he finishes in Parsha Shlach in 1943. Parsha is B'Shalach, 1943. B'Shalach is like in January of probably 1943. And he finishes the whole thing towards a little bit later in the year. So, remember, this is percolating in his mind. He starts having to be on the run. He starts running in 41 a little bit, 42. Right, in 36, the Jews in Hungary still felt very secure. Which page is it?
The last, it's actually the,
I can something?
Kaf page.
Wait, tell me which page.
Sorry.
Kufay? Atkan, let's see.
Okay, that's not like a
Right.
It's kind of like a bookend or something.
Maybe some of it,
It's talking about eating the fruits of the earth.
I don't know, I don't know. Okay. Right.
I think Rabbi Shapiro also, at the beginning of the war, he was writing as if this is just a continuation of Jewish history.
Right.
That the Nazi era was just
Another persecution and we'll get over it.
42, he annotated his previous Divrei Torah by
Right.
saying this isn't what we went through before.
Right, correct. And what happens is he actually, as I think I told you, he dies in the very last days of the war. They're already transferring out of Auschwitz and transporting them further in the interior to try to hide what's going on. And he dies on one of those trains. He has a confrontation with a Ukrainian prisoner who takes food away from a Jew. And the Nazis support the Ukrainian and they basically beat him to a pulp. Right, but I'm saying he almost made it, so to speak. And supposedly in his last words, he said to the people on the train, I don't know, it sounds like apocryphal, don't worry, you will make it, and there'll be a new world, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and so forth and so on. Okay. So, this is how people recounted it. But the bottom line is, this is a 180-degree turnaround. A person who can write this, who can be a part of this and be and join into this. And remember, it's not an article. It's the whole book is dedicated to this. I think it's ironic. It's called Tikkun Olam. It's just the irony of the book. But
does he in the book, does he mention the
change
politically? Like, does he mention does he mention like
he mentions many times that he disagrees with the Munkacher Rebbe. He does. He knows. He says he understands he's against this and he knows this, but this is what he thinks is right.
Right.
He doesn't talk politics. I think at this point the Aguda as a party became very ungermane for him. But he talks about the fact that he has changed and the fact that his change is going against everything he did and the way he thought he was. He talks about the fact that he used to basically have his yeshiva, he had his community, like he did. Everybody has their own routine. He never thought about this, the whole role of the world, what's going on. People ask him halachic questions. He's got to go look things up and get back to them. He has to teach a shir to his yeshiva. By the way, he's identified in this article by the name of his yeshiva as well. Here he is. Who was he called? He signs his name, Rabbi Yisachar Dov Teichel, and they tell him, Huagan Mefursam Harav Mi Kastalin. He was a rabbi in Kastalin, V'Koed Ravav based in Pishtian. That's the name of the city, of Pishtiaz, they have it called it. Varosh Mesifta the Yeshivas Moriah Shem. Okay, that's the name of his yeshiva. He had a yeshiva which he was training scholars to become rabbis to serve the communities. And he's also Mechaber Shaus and Chuvas Mishnah Sacher. That's what he was called. That was the name of his stage. The name of his Chuvos. But he suddenly realizes he has no yeshiva to do. He doesn't have the mental ability to sit and think complicated things. He begins thinking about history, about what's going on, and suddenly it hits him that guess what? He's living in an era of real change, and the change is about what's going on. He doesn't foresee at that point how difficult and how prolonged it's going to be, and how total it's going to be. But he says this is part of a teaching lesson about what we're supposed to take out of this. I don't know. He recognizes he's breaking. He was. There are times that he was told he would come to visit, and on the run they knew who he was. They would say, "We'll let you speak on Shabbos. You can give the drasha, but you can't speak about Israel."
But he wasn't like put into Chayrim.
It wasn't put into Chayrim, but in other words, in his book somewhere, I forget where it is. I came across it. He says they asked me to speak, and then the day before they said, "You can speak about anything you want when you give the drash, but you can't talk about Israel. You don't want to hear what you have to say." Because they knew he was different, and they ostracized him because of that. They couldn't write him out of the community. First of all, these are communities who are undergoing difficulties of war and persecutions and travail. You don't want to put a Jew out into nothing. But at the same time, they kind of understood that his ideologies were not the ideologies that they accepted with, or that they really wanted to be exposed to. So that's right. Okay. So that's in terms of the change that happens to him. It's fascinating, and he writes this.
He lived the whole war in Munich?
No, he runs away. He ends up in Nitra for a bit. He's hidden by the Rebbe in Nitra, who at the beginning of the war, his rabbis did have some.
But that was what, in the
41. No, about 41. He goes to Nitra, and then he eventually goes to. He's hidden for a while. Actually, for a bit of time, he stays in Pishtian in the synagogue, and they were able to hide him in the attic. He had some connections, so he watches as his yeshivas marched away. He watches the communities marched away. And then he realizes he has to go. He goes to Nitra. Someone manages to, I guess, snitch on him. He's forced to run away. He ends up in Budapest. And I'm trying to remember. I think he was caught when they went back to another community. They actually thought the war was over, coming to an end. They saw the Nazis were really losing it. They figured that would be things were a lot more safer. They weren't really hiding. They didn't have time to go search for Jews anymore. And that's when they actually picked him up and they actually put him to Auschwitz. And he lived in Auschwitz. He survived Auschwitz. His sons survived Auschwitz. His daughter survived Auschwitz. The daughter apparently wrote a biography book, which just came out in Hebrew, which I haven't seen, which she refers to stories of her father. Okay, she's married to some Rebbe in Bnei Brak now. I forgot her name, and so they survived. I'm not sure who survived, who didn't survive, but enough of the family did survive. Because remember, a higher percentage of Hungarians survived the war because the roundups happened much later. So they weren't in the camps as long. So they were able to survive in the camps just by virtue of having less exposure to what was going on. Plus, as the Nazi war machine began to cave in and collapse, there was less of an organized fashion to exterminate Jews. But that was their benefit, or their luck, so to speak. No, I'm saying that's right. That changes.
Relative.
Correct.
They're relative term.
Right.
In that context.
True. I mean, I grew up as a kid, and some of you did as well, with basically a group of survivors. I came into shul, people speak Yiddish, except in Hungarian shul, they spoke Hungarian. Right. So another era.
They talk about what happened.
They didn't talk about what happened, no, but I'm saying, but my Yiddish really came from the fact that I was exposed to it as a kid, and people speak Yiddish around me. So you learn as they talking. Look, my parents were Americans. My parents were born Americans. My mother spoke Yiddish, but everybody else, all my contemporaries, all had parents who came in from Europe before the war, during the war, after the war. So, anyways, okay. Let's take a look at a little bit of this. So this is the part we're up to. Here we go. Let's put this away. There's people here. There's Hebrew. There's English. English, Hebrew. You're in English, okay? English, Hebrew. So on the English, we're on page 82. The English, we're on page 82. And it's the new section. And on the Hebrew, it's on page 61. Okay, so Remember, the two parts that we did until now was one was about Morashah for Judaism, one was about Morashah for Israel. Both talk about the fact that we inherit these things basically as traditions. And now the last section of this piece of his forward of Piticha are really his words which he's writing to people in Eretz Yisrael. Who's he writing to? Who's living in Israel? Primarily they're secular Zionists, left Zionists, social Zionists, whatever they are. So there are small groups of religious Jews, but primarily the movement to Eretz Yisrael was not a religious movement. There were small pockets, right? Rav Kook is there. There are other groups that are going up, founding religious settlements to some extent, but it's basically a very, all of modernity is really a non-religious movement at this point. So he writes as follows: Acharei kolei lahadvarim hadamrei lamalo. After everything I wrote until now, Esa dvaras dibarti dvarasi dvorai el bonei artzina kedosha midoreinu zeh. I'm going to now write my words to the people from our generation who are going building up the land. Hashem alehem yichyu v'chefetz Hashem yaslech b'yadam. That God should help them and God should be with them. Zeh boror kishemesh ki ma'asechem u'polat yadchem b'tzuya lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It is clear as the sun. Now you got to compare this to what we just read a moment ago. That your work and your pulot, your activities, is loved by God, is wanted by God. Benita Marim, you've built cities. From Sdebor is an unworked field. You've made a fruitful field, the fruits fields that produce. And everything that happened to you with a difficult work and difficult work. And you worked very hard with Mesirat Nefesh to clean the swamps, right? There was water there that was full of all kinds of illnesses, malarial swamps. You've made from them fields that are choice fields and productive fields. And the fact that Hashem blesses you with your work, I'm going to really, I've proved, and I will prove it later on in the work itself, which I haven't written, this is on the P'ticha. But at this point, I'm going to bring at this point one proof that what you're doing is really great stuff. I want to support what you're doing. And he brings in Sanhedrin from Talmud Sanhedrin. Amalo Rabbi Yochanan, why did King Omri, why was he worthy of being a king? Why did he get a bracha to be the king? Why did he deserve to be the king? Because he made one city, he added one city to Eretz Yisrael. Omri was one of the wicked kings. He worshipped idols. He's not known for his religiosity. He broke with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He was very bad religious times, but yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed him to be king. Why did God need a king like this? A ton of the Eliyahu. So we learned in Masechet we learned in the Tanakh Eliyahu as follows. This found the Yalkut Shimoni. Amrav Yochanan. Why did Omri get the kingdom? I'm sorry, I skipped line. Tanakh Eliyahu. I was once sitting in the base of Medrash. Amarti lehem Rabotai. Ma nashtana Omri mikol hamlachim shlo shivu b'nechem acharem ad sheba Omri v'oshivu bo shlosha malachim akiso. How come Omri not only got to be king, but he managed to have a dynasty that went after him for 3 generations: son, grandson, great grandson? How come? So what did he do? So Amruli, so they answered to me, Lo Shamanu. So he says, we don't really know the answer, and the person speaking here is in many of these examples in Tanakh Eliyahu is meant to be Eliyahu. Azamarti lahem. So I said to them, Eliyahu, Rabotai al Shosif Yergdolah B'Yisrael, because he added a large city, he built a large city in the land of Israel. V'kach chashav Omri b'daiton. This is what Omri actually thought. Omar, why did he build a city? Not because he was such a tzaddik. Omar Geshem Shushlaim L'Malchi Yehuda Kaktei Shomon L'Malchi Yisrael. Omri was a king of the northern kingdom. He says, they got Jerusalem in the south, in the kingdom of Judea. I'm the kingdom of Israel. I need my own city, so I'm going to build my own metropolis. And he builds a city which he calls Shomron. It's called Shomron. Ad kan b'Sanhedrin Shom b'Yalkut Shimon. This is the story there. So you see, why is Omri blessed? Because he built a city. Did he build a city for a good reason? No. He wanted to compete with Jerusalem. Veroiti b'sefer Otvod Yosef Lagonim Ufalk Rav Yosef Engel. He saw in the sefer by Rav Yosef Engel, also Yosef, Hamyusar al Kabbalah Shevi b'Shem HaMekubalim. L'chora kasha lama natan lo Kadosh Baruch Hu schar zadavka. Why would the Kadosh Baruch Hu give him this reward this way? Kadosh Baruch Hu's rewards are always related to what you did. It's midah keneged midah, same for punishments. Chalila. Malchut avor maseh hanal. Why do you get malchut? And to be a king means you have a king, you have rule over someone. You also have a dynasty. Why do you have a dynasty that God rewarded him for doing this action? V'lo schar acher, not a different schar. V'kadvu mekubalim, and the Kabbalists wrote, Yadu der Yisrael have a b'sfirat malchut l'mala. That Israel is in the sphera, the sphera of malchut, one of the higher levels. V'yan dehuti came b'chinat malchut b'osafa. The fact that Omri added to the kingdom, the kingship of Israel by adding the osif ir achad b'Eretz Yisrael, al kein zachal malchut dafka. Therefore, he got malchut. God rewarded him with the sphera of malchut to make him a melech, to have a dynasty. Ad kan dai to akdoshim. Harei sha'af mamri hayom malchei rishayim, even though he's wicked. Mikra mali diber katuv, and it's a very clear pasuk that tells him all the things he done. Now, what did he do? Vayaleh Omri and Vayiken et Harsha. He went up. Vayiken et Har Shomron. Vayiven et Har Vayikuat Shem Oyer Asher B'na Shomron. And he built the city of Shomron. And it says, the pasuk continues and tells us what he did. Vayas Omri Hara B'nei Hashem Vayera Mikol Shel Afanav Vayelech B'chol Derech Yeravam Ben Avat. He followed the ways of Yeravam Ben Avat, who made the Jews sin, who worshipped idols. So first of all, he's a wicked. He didn't make it for Shem Shemayim. He made it Rak L'Chvodo. Same way the Talmud said, or Tan Be'Elio said, or the Yokut Shimoni, I think it's from, that he's doing it for making his own city. Even though he did it with sins and terrible things he was doing, he did a mitzvah to develop the land of Israel. Not just live in the land of Israel, to develop it. If it's not a mitzvah, there's no reward. Just by living there, if it's just nothing, God doesn't reward. God rewards for doing a special mitzvah. But again, malchut, he's improving the level of malchut, the sphere of malchut v'akadosh baruch hu above in the heavens. That's why he got the malchut this way. He had a great kingdom, 3 generations. He carried did the mitzvah with all its subheadings. Even upstairs in the heavens, he makes a change. And therefore, by improving what's going on down here, he also has an impact up in the heavens. Even though that was not his intention. He just wanted to make a city with his name, to give him a metropolis. And he did it with sin because he worshipped idols. You see, that's the measure for measure of what he did. So he's a bad guy. He does sins. But he builds a city. He builds a city for his selfish purposes. It's still a sin. It's still a mitzvah. And Cain, yesh lecha raya brura. He says, from here you have a very clear raya, clear proof. Okay, excuse me. There's no response. You can't knock it off. Sha'af and bal avera hayote gadol v'kofer b'chol Torah kula rachman l'slan kamri shayov me'ov the avodah zara. Even if you had a big oved avodah zara, a big sinner like Omri who worshipped idols, v'chol amod b'kofer b'chol Torah kula, and a person who admits to idol worship, agrees to idol worship, is like he denies the rest of the Torah, which makes sense. Af al pikein zacha v'tikim b'binyanu er b'Eretz Yisrael l'chol tikunim sheish mitzvah zu b'lomat el yonim. By his building a city and improving a city, he makes changes in the heavens. This shows exactly what's being done in our time. He says the people who are building the Israel are people who have left the Torah. Really true. I don't know if he says he's writing to them. I'm sure what they think if they read this. But he's really writing to his own people. They can't be worse than Omri. She'akoshechtiv, she'akosav heid alav, she'rabbeinu Hashem. The Torah says, the Tanakh says, he was bad in the eyes of God. Mikol shelafanav, everything he did. And he went, v'halach b'derech she'Rav ben Avat, and he followed the ways of Rav ben Avat. That's his, so to speak, that's a worse kind of identification. Shechtis Yisrael, who caused the Jewish people to sin because Rav ben Avat set up idols, right, in Dan and in, where I forgot the other place, where they couldn't go to Yerushalayim. Kamokain, nireh boror, the Sfirat Malchut Lamala Balamoto, Yenim Kanevenet Gadlai, De Maseh Binyan Shalei Bonei Arts Vizanenu. So surely, in our generation, in our times, the sphere of Malchut in the heavens will become Mitukan and will become greater through the building of the land of Eretz Yisrael. Yemashiyu, whatever it is, whoever they are, Afaposhim Ayoter Gdolim, they're biggest sinners in the world. Their actions are accepted before God the Creator. And the improvements and the specialties are done through their hands. Through the buildings that they built and they added and they caused the land to become flower and develop. That's exactly what the importance of yeshivot. The comments about yeshivot through building sadot and kramim is really how the land is turned around. And by the way, in the footnote here in the English, they point out if you look in the Maharsha that he quotes, it's not the Maharsha seems to say the other opposite way around. It's on top of page 84 in the English, in the footnote number 36. So this is part of the problem. The problem of Rav Teichel is he didn't always have books with him. Okay, and sometimes, most of the time, he got it right. Sometimes he quotes things that are not exactly bang on, but this is an example. So, okay, so the Maharsha doesn't say it. So the next source will say it. Okay.
So how do we feel about someone who robs a bank and takes the millions of dollars, let's say, and donates it to Israel to build a yeshiva?
So that's really not related here. He's saying they're separate mitzvot. He's saying how, in other words, one is robbing a bank. Think of this as robbing a bank, and independent of robbing a bank, he takes his own money and gives it to a poor person.
But his own money came from the people.
No, it's his own money, not the money he robbed from the bank.
No, but it's the money he
So
took to get taxes for the people on the
right, but I'm saying what he's saying here is they're really separate mitzvot, separate ideas. In other words, the key here, there's one idea of building the land, developing the land. The other idea is the person as an individual, how he does the other mitzvot. He's kind of really separating them into two baskets. So the fact that these people are secular Zionists, the fact that they don't keep the mitzvot, the fact that they don't keep Shabbat and this and that, okay, and they're no worse than Omri was. We don't know what Omri does. We know what the Tanakh identifies him as. He did a hara b'nei Hashem. Right. That's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
And God says that. The Navi is writing that. This is recorded. This is how he's known. And this is the individual who is rewarded to have a dynasty. Now, having a dynasty in those days, if you follow especially the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom of Judah is basically, it's a continuing dynasty. It follows Beit David. Okay, there is instability, there is problems, but it's basically Malchut Beit David. In the northern kingdom, it was not related by who you are. Anybody can be king. So you became king and someone else knocked you off and they became the king.
Right.
But Omri is one of the few people who not only passes on to his son, passes on to a grandson. That's a schut.
How long was he king for?
I don't recall, but 3 generations.
No, but how long was he king?
I don't have to look it up. Okay, but whatever it is, it's not that it was cut short, it goes on. So the point of it being, he must have done something good. So you see, what did he do good? According to the Talmud, he built the city. So says Rav Teichel, and by the way, what he's saying here is living in Israel is not the mitzvah. Yishuv Arts is not living in Israel. The mitzvah of Yishuv Arts is building the land of Israel, developing the land of Israel, putting up houses in the land of Israel, making fields bloom in Israel. That's Yishuv Arts. Jews lived in Israel for hundreds of years. There always was a yishuv in Israel, the old yishuv, and they would rely upon the chelkah. They would get handouts. They would send people around. They'd send money to Israel. He says, but these people now have gone in and they've changed the geography. They've changed the face of the land. That is Yishuv Aretz. In the same way that Omri just didn't live as a king, Omri built the city. Before that, before he built the city, there was no city. He made a brand new metropolis. Whatever the city planning was, that's what he did. That's the same thing. So and he has to prove now that the whole idea of building is really about the whole idea of living in Israel is about building up the land of Israel. Let's do a little more here. So we'll take us. Al v'chein katav Rabbeinu Chatam Sofer. Same as what Chatam Sofer says. Once again, you're going to tell me that Chatam Sofer was opposed to anything that was new. Yes, but he's quoting a drasha. His drasha for Shabbos HaGadol. The Eretz Sichon v'Og Lohi and the Eretz Yoshevet. After Itam Yoshevet. The land of Sichon and Og, Bashan. Sichon and Bashan was not called an inhabited land, even though it was land. It was there. Misham Lohi in Israel. Lo Megoyim Lo Yisrael. It was not planted. It was not cultivated, even though it was inhabited. Al Kain Lo Karu Eretz Noshevet. It wasn't called a developed land. Shaita Shmama V'Lo Zor B'Tocha. They didn't plant there. V'Zeh Emet. And this is what the Chasam Sofer says. Harei Yikar Yishuv Haaretz Ho'edei Israel. The real living in the land is planting the land. That's what's going on in the 30s and 40s. V'Nirli Vayabru Al Dev Rabbeinu Mikra V'Vayishlach. It says Eila B'nei Seir Achorei Yoshvei Haaretz. In Parshas Vayishlach today, this week is Toldot. It's going to be next week. No, Toldot. Vayetze Vayishlach. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So it says, Eila b'nei Seir ha'chorei yoshvei haaretz. This is the end of Vayishlach. It lists the genealogy of Esav and other people living in Israel before the Jews came. So they're called b'nei Seir ha'chorei, who lived in the land. V'darshu b'Shabbat, in the Talmud Shabbat says, Muvav Rashi right there on the place, Shayu b'kiyim b'yeshuva shel haaretz. They were knowledgeable in cultivating the land. Malo koneh zuj l'zeitim, malo koneh zu l'kfanim. They could see this type of land was going to be proper for zeitim. This type of land would be proper for vines. Shayitomim v'yodim ezen netiyaru yala. They could just feel and had this intuition about what the land would actually be able to produce. And so they could write away which plot was for which. These are people who are called what? Yoshev Haaretz. What's Yoshev Haaretz? Not live in the land. They knew what to plan. V'yayin Shivat Rashbash Rabbeinu HaTashbatz. V'chein Katav the Chasam Sofer me'atzmo b'chidav shel Sukkah. The Chatam Sofer in his commentaries on Sukkah says, the Acharisha v'azriya be'erzol havek mosh mekayim mitzvat tefillin o Sukkah l'lav. That he writes, and this is once again he's trying to make the application, that cultivating the land of Israel, doing the act, is like the mitzvah of tefillin or sukkah or lulav. It's a mitzvah the same way. So in other words, if you build it, it's not important what your intention is, you built it. If you live there, you just live there. But if you changed it, it's okay. Okay, let's try to do one more paragraph. Lo owed, one more. If a lo owed, actually maybe we'll take it to the middle of 63 in the Hebrew. The person who is simple enough to build the land without intention for heaven, for his benefit, he does even greater stuff than just even a great tzaddik. Why? He's the greatest tzaddik who's getting up in the middle of the night, say tikkun chatzot with crying, and he cries for the Shechina that's in the day exile. So the guy who's building the land of Israel, the secular Zionist who's not keeping anything into Judaism, is greater. Yes, the tzaddik does great tikkun. But this tzaddik who does all these great religious acts, these ritual acts, and cries and wail for the Jewish people in the Shechina, it doesn't hold a candle to what this guy is doing. That he builds, even though he's not doing l'shem shemaim. Kasher agmar Sanhedrin ochech al zeh, like the Sanhedrin proved. V'chein katav Rabbeinu Makdamat Sefer Reshit HaChachma. The same thing the author of Reshit HaChachma wrote in his introduction. The ikar tikkun naseh ba'oseh b'pol mitzvah. The greatest tikkun in the world is doing. It's not just thinking, not just kavanah, doing. And Shuv Matzati came by Yismach Moshe. I also found this Yismach Moshe. The Ma'aseh mitzvah poel af b'lishim kavanah mol yoter mi mitzvah below pula mi it's better to do an act without kavana than the greatest kavana without the act. One can argue as a person who argues on the truth, right? It's also the same thing halachically. The Yadua Mea Poskim, the mitzvah sheish b'maisa, eina tzricha kavana, mitkemet the maisa b'li kavana. Halachically too, if you do an act, even if you don't have the right kavana, you did the act. V'yayin rashba yivamot, the maisa mitzvah, the ef shal mehad la maisa, that a maisa mitzvah you can retract. Af mitzvah b'avera lo mazikli, even a mitzvah b'avera doesn't hurt. It may not be the best kind of mitzvah, but it doesn't lie against you. Mitzvah af im chas v'shalom nasai de avera. Mitzvah men above avera is not an ideal, but we don't say you don't get the mitzvah stamp. V'achanami kain kevin ayishiv nedrabav and gadlai de masam v'iev shalom yehadar masa shnema kilo. You can't say it didn't happen. To anunenim imasi yedem. We benefit from the work of their hands. Af im niyeh b'avera chas v'shalom netkaima mitzvah b'chol tokav v'benegla b'nistar. Still, they've developed the land through hidden ways and clear ways. We know some of what they do, the other thing we don't know. And therefore, okay, the Maisi Boni Art is Maneno, the work of the people building land in our time. Even though they don't follow God's word in the other parts of the Torah, the other mitzvot. Their actual building, their work is accepted. God loves it. It's loved in front of God's throne with love and great love. And I'm going to write my book more about this. Only one example here. Because of this, any person, a Jewish person whose heart is true, faithful to God, with truth and with shmimistic, and loves God, he loves God higher than he loves himself. Should kind of appreciate everything these pioneers have done. Okay. Now, what's going to happen next is, of course, he's writing to the people there. He says, however, you guys, now that I told everybody that you got to love you got to do some changes as well. You have to understand that you guys are building the land. It doesn't work if you don't turn back to God. Right. And that's where it's going to go now. But the bottom line, this is very strong language. This says you got to understand. Now, what he says, by the way, is true. That a Maisa mitzvah does not really need the kavanah. If you hear a certain things, right? Well, yes and no. For example, when we learned before Shana, we did pieces of Masechet Rosh Hashanah. If you hear a sound of a shofar, even if you didn't intend to do the mitzvah, but you know it's a shofar, you did the mitzvah shofar. The discussion in the Gemara was, what if you didn't hear? You thought it was the sound of a donkey? If you think it's the sound of a donkey, then you're not going to be able to the mitzvah because you're only hearing shofar. But if you hear passing behind the shofar and you said, and the kavanah that you hear is so minimal that you're hearing the shofar, you don't even know you're hearing it for the mitzvah, you'll be able to the mitzvah. So
when they were offering sacrifices, and they say you can't accept one that has a blemish on it.
Yes.
So I'm offering you a cow, but it's got a broken leg.
Okay.
So why isn't it accepted? If the act of doing is more than the kavanah.
So the answer is every act has certain rules and regulations.
Well, yeah.
Okay. No. It's not so difficult to understand. This is not a perfect animal.
But these people aren't perfect either, But
okay,
we say that his is accepted.
You're asking me, but let's rephrase the question. The act of sacrifice might not be a sacrifice. It's not acceptable. It doesn't mean the person is not a good person. The animal was rejected does not mean the person did a bad thing. He attempted to bring a sacrifice. Now, he needs to either make up the sacrifice, not make up the sacrifice. He didn't get the sacrifice be done. But that's a rule about the sacrifice. It's not a rule about the intention of the purpose of the person. What he's trying to say is something completely different. Here's a person that disregards every other mitzvah in the world. But it's not a matter of, you're not all or nothing. These people have a tremendous chut. And the proof he brings is ironclad proof. The proof he says is Omri in the Talmud, in the Medrash, is rewarded because of what he did by building a city. So these people doing the same thing. Omri, they can't be worse than Omri.
You understand?
Okay.
But now you have a city. He's built a city, but there's no religion in it.
So
because the people there are just okay. So we finished building the city. Now what?
That's the next part. Right. That's Binyan Haaretz. Binyan Haaretz. He says we benefit. You benefit. We go to Israel. You can go to Israel. You can go to Kotel. You could not go to Kotel today if not for the fact that the society built an economy, built a country that defended itself and was able to conquer the Kotel. Period. So every time that we get on a plane and go to Israel, it is based upon the fact that people put their lives on the line and committed themselves in a very difficult era to make a country, even though they did not follow the mitzvah that we're trying to follow. That's what he's saying.
So he's saying that if you sit in yeshiva and learn and don't do anything active, you're worse than a shomer tzedakah guy.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying, that if you did nothing
that
in the
wouldn't
yeshiva...
go over very well these days.
Right. But that's the radical thing that he's writing at this point.